talk about the different ways that our animal companions heal us, bring balance to our lives. And we thought that we would touch on a few different aspects because Monique and I are all about kind of mind, body, energy. And so we wanted to touch on those three buckets. So we'd start with the physical. Is that cool, Monique?
Yeah, absolutely. And with, with animals, just having an animal in a home, just on a very basic level, we do need to walk our animals. We need to take our animals outside to do their business. So that already is one way that our animals are helping us become mobile, because it's their need, as caretakers of animals, it's our responsibility to make sure that our animals are walked, especially when we have dogs or animals that require, some people walk their cats too, believe it or not. But I mean, for animals that require you to go and take them out to do their business, especially some breeds of animals, for example, huskies are very, very active animals that require a level of activity just for their own health. So that already will help us as people, as humans, to become more active, to become more involved in our fitness without even, let's say, trying to, because we have to take care of our animals. But just having an animal is so good just for your overall physical health, because it will encourage you, it will inspire you to want to be out, to want to be active. It will be very hard to turn down an animal that is begging you for attention to go out and play. And even if it's just within the home or outside in the yard, you're moving around with your animals, you're active, and your heart rate is already naturally going up because of the excitement also of being in the presence of your animal. Your adrenaline's high, your brain is releasing dopamine, or not, but like the serotonin, like that, that good vibe hormone. So you're naturally just already improving your overall physical health by having your animal with you. And it's just encouraging to want to go out and, show your animal off to the world. And you're just getting out there, you're being physical, and it's just a great thing. And like I said, depending on the breed of the dog or animal that you have, different breeds require different levels of activity. So the more active dog that you have, the more active you will have to be. So we'll definitely improve your physical fitness.
And
definitely.
I love that you say that, because for me, half of the battle of actually going and working out is the getting off the couch, right? That first step is the hardest. And that's where our animal companions, like you said, really help, get us off, get us outside. And then I'm more apt to actually follow up with my fitness routine. I'm such a nerd. I totally Googled stuff. So I have some stats also about the physical health. Having a dog, we know, can decrease the risk of heart disease by 36%. And that's such a big silent killer, not only for men, but for women as well.
And that's a big number. That is a significant percentage. 36 that's a big number.
And then we know that petting a dog for even just 10 minutes a day can help reduce stress. So, our animal companions are down with that stat. They could sit there on our laps, just kind of loving those belly rubs. And, also keeping in mind that May is, Mental Health Awareness Month. 94% of families with an autistic child reported that their child bonded with the household pet, and it majorly improved their quality of life. So, they do help us both physically and also with our mental health and mental well-being. And, that's all stuff we know. We can all kind of read these stats and, check things off. But, to me, what's really exciting to talk about and where I really spend the bulk of my work, I'm a professional dog trainer, but my passion is really the energetic connection between us and our animal companions, because you can't just do actual traditional training without addressing the energy of the situation. So in my work, I've been so fortunate to be able to really delve deep into the emotional and energetic contributions that our animal companions bring into our lives. And I've also been able to see firsthand that when we do combine traditional training, but also look at the energetic aspects and patterns of what's going on, that's where we see the big results for our animal companions and for the humans. So I thought we could talk a little bit about the emotional benefits and how our animal companions heal us emotionally. One of the things that we've talked about before is, as pet parents, a lot of us don't feel the same vulnerability around other human relationships in our lives. or maybe even, you know, growing up or in our current circumstances, we don't feel like we have the safety of an unconditional love that we all deserve. And that's where our animal companions can come into play. You know, they are some of the most intimate relationships in our lives in that they see us at our most vulnerable. They see us at our most exuberant, our most joyful. They see us everywhere in between. And they're one of those few relationships where we can really authentically be ourselves and let our guard down.
I agree with that. And I think for most human relationships, it's very difficult to say that a human relationship is unconditional, because it is conditional. There are relationships with other people, whether it's family, friends, significant other, change all the time. But with animals, animals are truly the only beings that are able to give unconditional love. They have no other motive but to just love you. And so that's so true. And then for me, that's something that I actually work through, and I'll say it openly, like I work with a therapist, and one of the issues that I'm working through is just to, you know, to work on unconditionally loving myself. And so in my mind, something that's important for me is I tell myself this often, is I need to love myself the way that my dog loves me. Mm-hmm. And just having that reminder, having that everyday interaction of, you know, my pet, my dog, that gives me that sort of love, just opens that up, and it facilitates, you know, the ability for me to change and see myself, because dogs do pick up on energy. And so if my dog is able to unconditionally love me and be so loyal to me, there's a reason for that. So I need to learn to do that for myself. And just having my dog with me every day is a reminder of that. So 100% agree with that.
Yeah. I love that. And one thing, as you know, I do animal communication as well. So I connect with the energy of the animals, the humans, the dynamic. And, you know, one of the really interesting things about animals that always I try to remember and bring it into my life a little bit more is that animals don't judge experiences. As humans, we go into things and we've been taught to categorize very quickly into mental constructs, you know, what's good and what's bad, who are the good guys, what are the bad guys, you know, what parts of myself do I show that I get accepted for survival, you know, even as early on as when we were kids, you learn what parts of yourself garner attention and people liking you versus what parts of yourself to hide. So part of that unconditional love is not only that they don't have any other motivation, they live experiences very purely. You know, there's no judgment. And so that kind of gets to when I work with pet parents who have rescues during an animal communication session, a lot of times pet parents say, oh my gosh, can you tell me what happened to my dog before they came here? And the number one thing that the rescues tend to say in those sessions is, we don't, you know, that was yesterday. Sure, we might have some remaining behaviors that are more just kind of instinctual that we can train out through positive reinforcement and counter conditioning. But that was that, like, it's a clean slate. We're starting fresh. There's none of this holding on to the past like we as humans sometimes do. And when you don't hold on to your past, you don't have that lens through which to judge different experiences. So it's really quite fascinating in that way. And I love that you say that you feel safe and that you're inspired by your dog's unconditional love, and you aspire to be able to love yourself the way your dog does. That's so beautiful.
And that's such a great point that you brought up too, just about being able to let go, and how animals, you said, when you encounter rescue animals for communication sessions and they don't want to be reminded of their past, because this is their new life, this is their new chance, their new chapter to move forward in happiness. And I feel like as individuals, as people, we need to take a lesson in that and be able to let go of past experiences. Granted that past experiences make us who we are, and just as you said, there has to be some counter conditioning for us as humans as well, but we can take a page out of our pet's book and say, you know what, if they're able to see past those, you know, those obstacles and still be able to give unconditional love, then we should have the capacity to do that for ourselves. So that's a great point.
Well said. Well said. So I'm loving this conversation. For anybody kind of joining in and watching us, we'd love to hear your experiences as well and your stories. But kind of building on the emotional, you know, connection, what they do to help us clear out those emotions and be that energetic or emotional support for us. Let's go a little bit into the energy, because they do so much for us as well. One thing that I found, a really quick one actually, but it's very significant, is our animal companions, especially dogs and cats, are fantastic at clearing the space for us. So whereas a lot of us feel we have to sage the home or open the window and let in, fresh air, use crystals, their little bodies naturally help us process the energy of our home, our environment, our community. So, one thing that I always get questions about is about dogs and the puppy zoomies or the puppy crazies, when at a certain hour they just get up and they're running around the room. In my experience, that tends to be them clearing the energy of a space. They're kind of getting rid of some stagnant energy. So if you do find your puppy doing that, or your cat, or whatever animal companion it might be, thank them, because they're doing something fantastic in the energy for us.
I love that you said that, because I can think of, just in the last week or so, a couple of moments where I've just felt like some tension or something has been going on, because we are in a pandemic, so this is really stressful time for a lot of people. And I just remember, sitting in front of my computer, and I was stressed out about, I don't know, something with work. And then Trace just starts out of nowhere, just like running around the house. And I'm like, what is this? Like, there is not, what's going on? He just has these zoomies out of nowhere. And so that makes perfect sense. It's his way of clearing the space for me and saying, hey, you know what, Mom, it's going to be okay. Let me just clear this energy for you. Whatever you're stressed about right now, we're going to get through it. So I'm so happy that you said that, because I personally did not know that.
And there's some pet parents who are like, how do I stop the puppy zoomies? I'm like, don't. They're awesome. It's doing a great service.
Yeah, we have some people commenting that they're loving the idea of zoomies. So now you can make that association when your dog is doing zoomies in your house around you. It's because they are clearing your space. So be thankful for the zoomies. The more the merrier. Welcome all the zoomies that you can.
Exactly. Awesome. Get up, shake off yourself, blow off any old energy, and you're taking part of it. And then the other thing that I kind of premise my entire body of work on is how energetically our animal companions mirror us. And what's really cool is, we have, and with your yoga practice, we have 7 major chakras, and each chakra's, associated with a different area within our body and different universal themes in the human experience. Whether it's, with victimhood or feeling grounded, safe, and secure, whether, the myth of separation, intimacy, opening our hearts, being heard and seen. And so our animal companions also have 7 major chakras. So what I found is, when I link different pet behaviors to our chakras, we're able to identify through our pets and how they're behaving what themes we need to look at more deeply in our lives. So for example, if your animal companion has on-leash reactivity, if they're barking on leash or they're not listening on leash, they're a little shy, typically I say, let's look at your first chakra. Let's look at issues of grounding. Do you feel safe and secure in your reality? Do you feel connected to your maternal figure? Like, there's so much that we can glean from our pet's behavior. And in this way, they energetically show us bigger patterns in our lives. They reflect back habits about, what attitudes, habits, beliefs that we're holding, that we're ready to let go, literally through our interactions with them. They show us very specifically what baggage we're ready to release and let go of. So to me, that is the most tremendous gift. I like to think of my philosophy as self-help for pet's sake, because when we vibe higher, so do our pets. And with our pets, we have a companion in this, journey and our path of personal growth, which is amazing.
I love that you said that about the chakras too. And just, and I told you this before this call, that lately Trace has been a lot more talkative with me on a day-to-day basis. And in my own personal life, I've noticed that I've been speaking up a lot more about my, my desires and things that I want, and just kind of standing up for myself in situations where I wouldn't have before. So I think the fact that he's becoming so much more talkative is a reflection of me being open, and my throat chakra is opening up, and I'm speaking my own truth. And he's acknowledging that by talking to me and saying, hey, Mom, like, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I'm talking to you, telling you that you're doing the right thing by speaking up and standing up for yourself. So I absolutely love that connection.
Yeah, I've got the chills. And I love how intuitively connected you are with your animal companion. And, part of that intuitive connection and that being open and vulnerable with our animal companions and truly being able to show ourselves and who we are gives them beautiful access to be able to tap into even like childhood wounds, you know, and an opportunity to revisit those kind of experiences that might be, you know, shaping a little bit of our perspective as adults. And, you know, in one animal communication session, just to give an example, it was so fascinating. You know, different animals bring different things, but it's always with me about what's going on in the human's lives. So I was getting ready to hop on a session with this woman, and I sat down, kind of tuned in, tapped into the energy. And I got this really interesting hit about, you know, her father having affairs, the mother feeling like she was stabbed in the back. And then, as the universe often does, I love TV and movies. They brought in a movie scene to help me kind of get to the bottom of the emotion of what was going on. And it was from Good Will Hunting, that moment where Robin Williams says, "It's not your fault." And finally, Will kind of cracks and lets it go. So I hop on the phone. I'm like, "Listen, I don't know what this means, but this is what I'm getting. What does that mean to you?" And it was just like dead silence on the other end of the line. I was like, "Okay, I'll give you some space." And she was just sobbing. She was like, "How could my dog have known that? I was literally talking to him yesterday as I was going through my closet and talking to him about, you know, the pain of being a child and hiding my dad's affairs and feeling like I had to take on all that pain. And yesterday was the first time I realized it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my baggage to hold." And she was like, "This is amazing. How does my dog know this?" Right? And so it's amazing the information that they bring through and how they can bring healing and balance to even these experiences that happened way before they were even part of our experience.
Yeah. That's so true. I love that.
And then the other thing that they do, which I also find super fascinating, is, you know, we all have childhood wounds and, you know, experiences from childhood that we carry in with us. And it's interesting because we tend to see life from the child's perspective until we enter motherhood. And for many of us, motherhood happens with our furry companions as we're caring for our dogs, our cats, our fish, our gerbils, you know, whoever it is that we love and nurture. And so they give us this tremendous opportunity to see life from a different perspective, right? From the perspective of the parent. And it allows us to really kind of sort through our emotional and energetic clutter and decide, how do we want to move forward as parents, and how can we better parent ourselves? Because at the end of the day, going back to what you said about unconditionally loving yourself, if you don't feel you've received that unconditional love in life, especially as a young child, you can provide it to yourself. You can parent yourself. You can parent your animal companion and nurture that relationship that maybe you didn't feel that you got before.
That's so true. I agree with that 100%. And it's definitely a daily, like I said, a daily teacher, a daily reminder that I have the capacity to do that. And for me personally, and I love what you said about just the experience of having a pet companion to take care of, to parent. And for some people that are in for example, for me, I can't have human children. So this is going to fulfill that, you know, that want to be a parent to something, to another living being. And it's also helping me unlearn patterns of, you know, things in my childhood and behaviors that I had as a kid that were not favorable, or things that my parents maybe did that didn't sit right with me. So that's my opportunity to kind of work through those patterns in myself and in my parents. And even with a pet, so people, you know, it's not the same comparison as having a human child, but there is a lot of crossover. There is a lot of cohesiveness in that, because, you know, you have to look at yourself, whether you're a pet parent or a human parent, and say, okay, here's a situation that's unfavorable, let's say, in your pet or your child. How are you going to work through this? And then you're forced to, you know, go back to your own parenting as a child and just decide, what is it that worked for you? How did you feel? And how to work through those. So absolutely, it's a great connection. It's a great way to teach yourself to be a better, you know, essentially a better parent than what you received, if you needed that, if that's what you needed, you know. Or on the flip side, if you had wonderful parents, then great, you have the tools, you have the nurturing tools. And also maybe you need to learn to maybe just dial it back a little bit and be a little bit more assertive, be a little bit more, you know, of a stronger, you know, presence, whereas letting your pet just kind of do whatever they want, you know. And it just, there's so many different ways you can go about that. But for me, like I said, it definitely fills that void of, you know, having something to care for, having another creature to care for. So for me, being a pet mom is just as significant as being a mom to a human child. So that's what, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree with that.
You touched on a really beautiful point, because, you know, another way that our animal companions help us emotionally, energetically is, you know, their dress rehearsals. So what I found is when I'm working with pet parents who, for example, have their dog has separation anxiety or is barking at them, a lot of the message and patterns that are coming up is being able to differentiate, distinguish, and stand up for your own needs and your own voice and what you're trying to say. So a lot of times we'll be working with the animal companions, and they're the best dress rehearsal because they need boundaries in order to thrive, just like, you know, human children. And sometimes as pet parents, you know, we feel guilty, or we don't want, you know, oh, you know what, I'll sacrifice all my time, I won't sleep all night as long as they're happy. And then you have, you know, the animal companions who then take advantage of that, because that's what they're helping us do. They're helping show and illuminate that, listen, lady, we need some boundaries. You need to stand up for yourself. You need to say, you know, I need to leave the house from this time to this time. You're going to be okay, little one, and balance that with a lot of quality time. And what I found with a lot of my clients is they're like, you know, I started this with my dog, and then at the office, it became a lot easier when my boss was like, hey, will you take on this extra project? There's no extra pay, but we know you're good for it. And I said, no. I said, you know, my plate is full. So our animal companions are absolutely dress rehearsals, so that we learn to stand up for our needs, what we need. We learn to find our voice. We learn to manage our energy. And one of my favorite things they help us do is find our own authentic leadership.
I love that. I love that you said that. I love that you said that because, and there's an experience. So when I first brought Trace home, the rescue organization that I rescued him from and another one had like this Zoom chat that was, it was a free Zoom chat with a local, a pretty well-known dog trainer in LA, for like new foster parents and adoptive parents. And so I had, you know, asked about something where Trace will go on walks and he'll just sit down. He'll just like sit and he won't want to move. And then I explained to the trainer, I said, yeah, but you know, he's only 3-legged. I don't want to push him too much. I don't want to. I was babying him, and the trainer looks at me through Zoom and says, your dog is manipulating you. Your dog thinks that he's the boss. You're the boss. And ever since that day, I said, you know what? I am the boss. So I had to take charge. And since then, he's been a lot better on the leash, a simple like, let's go. And now he knows that I'm in charge, I'm assertive. But I'm noticing that just from that experience, I am able to say no to things that do not serve me. Whereas I used to be the person that'd be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do this. Or, okay, if you need this from me, sure. Like, you know, even though I don't really want to, or I don't have the capacity, I'll still say yes. But I'm learning to say no to things that are not serving me anymore. And Trace is a big part of that. So I love that you just said that, because it's so true.
Yeah, that's so lovely. And, you know, training isn't a one size fit all. So I always like to say, you know, as much as when I'm working with clients, I'm an expert in dogs, but you're an expert in your dog, right? We want to trust those mommy instincts, take what works for us, you know, manage and shift what doesn't, and try something new, because we all bring different strengths to the table. We all have different ways that we communicate. You know, I'm not going to be able to work with a dog the same way, you know, a 6'5", 225-pound man's going to work with a dog, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, whereas they can be really gruff and intense, for me, I'm, you know, 100 and some pounds and not, you know, not in perfect fighting shape. So I find collaboration the best way to work with our animal companions, because if a dog decides to pull me on leash, I'm done, you know, in brute force, there's no way I can compete. So it's really about connecting, understanding where they're coming from, helping find the win-win for everyone. So that's so beautiful. And this has been such a lovely conversation. This has been so much fun.
I know, it's great. And I know that people, I'm sure, whether they're tuning in now or watching this later, will listen to, you know, some of the things that we covered and not having known that and make that association. And it'll just drastically improve their connection, their connectivity with their animals, and just their awareness of what their pets are really trying to tell them and teach them. So I think it's a really great thing just to have in mind. And, you know, for me, I definitely, as a yoga teacher, can connect to the energy healing side of it. And with chakras, that's something that I study every day, and just how to you know, bring balance to all of my chakras, all 7. And so now I have an extra being to kind of help me with that. And it's, you know, with having that energy of Trace around in my pet. So I'm sure that a lot of people that have that belief system that I have, that we share, will get a lot of benefit in learning that. And even if they don't, you know, they'll look at different things and different patterns and behaviors and hidden messages from their animals and start to look at things in a different perspective. So yeah, I think it's great
Totally.
to do this.
I
Yeah.
love it. The chakras are such an amazing cheat sheet that the universe provided, you know, with the themes, what's going on in my body, where in my body, and it's very quick to be able to link back to those themes and then go deeper into, you know, what's truly at the core of our behavior, our pets' behavior. And I'm just so grateful that we had a chance to hop on the phone today and really be part of this new vanguard in pet guardianship. One of the things that I've always been really adamant about, and I love that you feel the same way, is I never use the word pet owner. It's pet parent, pet guardian. Pet owner is so old school. That goes right along the lines with the alpha roles and that notion that we have to dominate our animal companions. We're really in a new age. We're, you know, not only now, we're in this reset period and things are going to change for the better, I have faith. We're going to be more connected, more united, but we're in a new era of pet guardianship, where we see the connection. We don't own anything. We are guardians, we are parents, we are friends and companions. And so if anyone is looking for a simple way to kind of shift the energy around their pets, oh, hello, today's our little one.
You just wanted to jump in and say hi.
Even something as simple as just saying pet parent or pet guardian versus pet owner creates such a shift in people's awareness. And it was so lovely to connect on Mother's Day, such a special day for all pet parents. Yeah, and this can be